Hello everyone and welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge you needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, we hope what we're doing here will give you some entertainment. For all of those who are watching us on Twitch, all of the information is down below. For those of you who are watching this later on YouTube, All the information should be in the profile there, but just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com. Sorry, brain's not waking up yet because of late coffee. We're also on Btengu on Twitter, facebook.com Blue Tengu Studio, youtube.com Blue Tengu Studio for those of you who are watching us on Twitch, and Twitch TV Blue Tengu for those of you who are watching us on YouTube and if you want to catch the live show. If you missed any episodes so far, you can catch them over at YouTube, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along, even if you haven't been keeping up. For those of you who haven't seen the show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric. I'm a game designer living over here in Japan. I'm trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for about 2 hours a week, including all of the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments and brain not waking up to coffee moments. The reason I'm showing it all, as opposed to making the game first and scripting out a tutorial, is because I want to lower the barrier you feel about making a game, and I hope inspire you to go out and try it yourself. If you're here with me on Twitch, feel free to drop suggestions or ask questions at any time. I may not be able to answer them right away because I am working, but I'll try to get to them, at least, at break times or whatever. But if I can't get to your questions, please send me a private message, here on Twitch, or leave a comment on our site or the YouTube video if you're watching later, and I'll do my best to address it next time. If you are out there making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. I'd love to see it. Anyway, at this time every week for 2 hours, I come on to Twitch TV to work on the game. Well, the game right now anyway is Project Spaghetti, a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. Last week, after I gave the enemy the ability to dodge bullets, the same ability the player has, I pulled all of the basic enemies functionality out of just the basic enemy object and put it into a parent class so that any future enemies I made could share all of that information, saving me from having to rewrite a lot of stuff and a lot of code and hopefully preventing bugs in the future because of copy pasting and things like that. Once that class was in place, it was easy enough to change a few variables and create a brand new enemy type, basically a green-faced bad cowboy that was faster and more trigger-happy than his red-faced, predecessors. After the show, I used a little bit of overtime to fix some of the bugs I had slated for future work. One was fixing the UI to display in the proper place. At the end of last week's episode, the UI was kind of shifted off once I moved it from player to system. And I fixed that by, basically offsetting it based on I think it was the room manager system. Yeah, I think system. And it seems to be fine right now. Also got rid of as many hard-coded numbers as possible to make it easier to change the resolution in the future. I also finally fixed the bug where the player couldn't shoot if they dodged in a certain way with a certain timing, or could shoot while dodging, which was the other side of the issue. Both of those bugs were related to the same thing. And what it was I was relying on the dodge cooldown timer to decide whether they could shoot or not and things like that. Instead, I did more like what I did with the enemies, which was separate out, the state of is the player dodging or not, whether they could shoot or not, and the cooldown timer. Once I separated all those three variables out, those two bugs went away. The final bug I fixed was one that had been bugging me for a while, and that's that the enemy path AI seemed to break when restarting the level. It's all those things that they were supposed to be going around, they just tried to go through. That only happened when I restarted the level. Figured it out. The cause was some information on the internet. Yeah, gas, bro. Misinformation on the internet, that never happens. But I fixed it when I found someone else who had the same problem and figured out a solution. The problem was I was adding all of those barrel obstacles and things to the enemy path rather than to the pathing grid, which didn't make sense when I was doing it at the time either. I was kind of like, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Obviously it wasn't. And now everything works just fine. And it's perfect timing because, to fix that bug with jumping into new levels and obstacles and things, because today my goal is to add a title menu and just a dummy graveyard level. It may not look like a graveyard, we'll see. It might just be a blank room or a copy-pasted version of the original room, but just to get the level system working. And that would have meant a lot of path breaking if I would have left that in the game. So I'm going to jump over to Trello, but I do have some people talking on Twitch right now. Sogomun asks if this is live, and he said he made something. So yeah, if you don't mind, posting a link or sending me a message about it, yeah, definitely, I'd like to try it. See what you guys out there are actually making. And the American Joe, hello, welcome to the live show. You watched me do one of those unplugged episodes with what was it, Game Dev Tycoon, I believe. So hope you enjoy the live show. And like I said in the intro, if I can't get to your questions, it's because I'm working. But I should try to find breaks in between, carrying out tasks to hopefully answer your questions. Otherwise, there's not much point in seeing this live, right? But first thing I want to do is go over to my to-do list on Trello, which is where I keep all of my tasks, because I do kind of loosely follow an agile program. So let me jump to the desktop here. Let's see. So I do have Trello up here. And last week, episode 10, I did do the Bad Cowboy Dodge. I also did the parenting stuff. And I created the green-faced cowboy that moves a little faster and shoots a little faster than the basic enemy. I also moved the GUI draw out player and put it into system, but that's what created the bug, which I fixed here after the episode. And these are those other bugs that I was just talking about that I fixed. But today, this is episode 11. What I'm going to be doing is just make the Game Maker room. I use a program called Game Maker right now anyway for Project Spaghetti. So I'm just going to create an extra stage. It'll probably be, like I said, blank, or it'll just be a copy of the original stage. And then that'll allow me to, fiddle with a level manager. Once I have that in place and I can move from level to level, then I can, put a title screen in front, hopefully have options that you can pick. And if I have time left over, which, I should be able to get to this pause menu. So I'll just bring those over now. Probably won't be able to get to an options menu, but we'll see. I'll just put these in the list for now. So I guess the first thing I should do is head over to GameMaker and show you where I am in the game right now. So let's see, jump down from there, jump over to GameMaker. Okay, so going on, I'm sorry that it deletes your links. I guess I do have that to prevent spam. I'm sorry. If you could post the name or some way people can find it on Google, I can put a note in the show notes if you don't mind or whatever, so that people can look at it. And you did Ludum Dare, which is fascinating. I've been seeing a lot of games that were done for the Ludum Dare online and stuff, and they've all been very clever. So definitely give me some information on how I can find your stuff. I'm sorry that the links are getting blocked by Twitch. Maybe I'll just in the future try to allow links and then just worry about spam later. Okay, so where I am now, just the very basic cowboy game. As you can see, there's no animation, the graphics are all very rough. I'm kind of doing it in a basic Commodore 64 style palette and resolution and things like that. So it does look very rough, but as you can see, I've got the red cowboys, I've got them dodging. I've got the green cowboys, which are faster and shoot more often. And because I didn't kill any of these enemies at the start, it made it real easy for me to die. But before, when I restarted the level, the pathing broke, but now, this is debugged, pressing F1 to show the paths and things. Working fine. So that's good. But when I do finish a level, if I can survive, one life left, here we go. Okay, yeah, as you can see, it just jumps back into this level, so that's one thing I have to fix. So, right now I just have the room called Room Town, which is this. So what I'm going to do first is just duplicate it to give me something to start with. And I'm going to call this Room Graveyard. because in the future it will be a graveyard level with tombstones instead of barrels and different kinds of enemies and things, but for now I just want to be able to move from that stage to that stage and call it stage 1, stage 2, etc. Oh, one thing I did find out when I was looking stuff up on Game Maker was the order that you keep these rooms in this list is actually very important. I guess Game Maker defaults to starting with the first one, unless you have something in place to pick levels. So let's see. Let's go to objects. Right now, I think the thing that's going to be selecting stages is going to be my room manager, I believe. Let me take a look. Probably. Yeah, because this is the one that's saying that if my kill count is equal to my enemy count, go to the victory screen and things like that. And it makes sense to have the room manager control stages rather than system or anything like that. So I should probably, let's see, how should I go about this? When the game starts, this is actually going to be easier to do after I have a title screen, so maybe I should switch those tasks around. But let's put the basic stuff in place. So I probably need a variable in here that says what room I'm in. We'll just call it room current. Probably I'll set it to 0 for the title screen, but I'll say stage 1 just so I can jump back to where I was. And let's see, set room kill count to 0. And I'm probably going to need to do some of this stuff every time I start a new room. So some of this is going to have to come into here as well. In fact, maybe all of it. Let me just double check. Yeah, this is setting up like the type of enemies and the number of enemies that come out. Yeah, all of this is going to have to happen every time a room starts. So, and I did back this up, so if I screw things up, I can always go back to that. Let's see. So, probably the very first thing I want to do is say the current room is this. Actually, this is the only variable that I don't want in here, come to think of it, because I don't want to always set my stage to 1 every time I start a room. Oh, okay, I do have a global called current level already, so that's actually what I want. Global current level. That's what I want to use. Okay. Okay, so the first time this thing is created, make it level 1. And I might be doing that in system as well. Let's see. Let's go over to scripts, globals. Yeah, okay, I'm already doing it up here. So I don't even need to worry about setting the current level anywhere. I just need to remember to use that variable somewhere. And where I'm going to use it is room start, room end, step, pick the next level. I need to comment some of this stuff so I remember where it is, right? That sets up my grid. Let me comment this because I'm going to be coming back and forth into here quite a bit. Okay, well, this is probably what I need to change. So So let's see, I want to change the flow to go to a different room. Do I want to do this in GameMaker's UI? Yeah, I guess I could. Global current level equals 1. Then I want to go to level 2. Actually, let's duplicate this. Okay. So if I just finished level 1, then I want to go to room graveyard. If I just finished level 2, which is going to be the graveyard, then let me just double check to make sure what I'm calling it. Then I want to go to room victory, which is just the game over screen at the moment. Okay. So every time the enemies disappear, we do this. When I go to this room, it should trigger room start again. Hopefully. I guess we'll find out. I probably should change room graveyard so that I know that I'm switching to a different level as well. And I may need to get rid of all of this, because I think it's doing it twice. But I'll keep it for now, just to see. And Jim Orion stopping by as well, so I've got quite a crew here. Hey Jim, thank you for stopping by. Right now I'm, I said at the beginning of the show, trying to add the ability to jump from level to level, and also the ability to have a title screen and say you want to jump into the game, just so I can set the basic framework for adding levels in the future. Last week I got extra enemies and things like that in the game. First thing I need to do is change this, well, graveyard level, which will look more like a graveyard in the future, to make it really obvious that I've changed levels to make sure that code is working. Hopefully I don't get an error here. This is the first level, so that part's still working, which is good. And I think what I'm going to want to do to test all this stuff is create some debug code where I can just hit, like, you know, F4 or something and just kill all the enemies. Because otherwise I have to go through and kill them every time, and it's not very efficient way to test it. Okay, good. I did get to level 2. The enemy pattern is exactly the same as level 1 because I didn't change any of that stuff, but the point is I am getting to level 2, which would be nice to see if I could get to level 3 in the victory screen, but I wasn't paying good attention, so hopefully I survive. Ah, good. Okay. So I do need something to reset it to level 1 as well, because as I saw, I probably did jump to the game over screen, but when I hit start to restart the game, it jumped back into level 2 instead of level 1. So I do need to fix that. Also, let's see, room graveyard. This is probably where I need to change the room number as well. So global current level equals to 2. Because I wasn't changing that, so had no way of knowing which level I was supposed to go to. And also I'm noticing on my game over screen that it's picking up my keyboard input really, really quick. So I think any key. The difference here with these events is if you use keyboard, then if the key is held down, it keeps, picking that up. But if you use key press, it's just the first time you push it down. So for things like menus and stuff like that, I'm going to be wanting to use key press. So it's probably a good idea to change what I have in here to here. And also, good thing I came in here because at the game over screen, I just have this hard-coded to go to room town, but that's not what I want to be doing. So I want it to be based on the level. Or do I? Well, let's see. I guess it depends on whether I want the player to be able to start over from the stage they just died on, or if I want them to go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, how about that? It's probably a good idea to do this. And then go to that. So that should allow it to jump back to level 1. And I do want some debug code to automatically kill all the enemies, because if I'm going to be doing this over and over again, I don't want to have to kill them every time just to test the game. So let's see, my debug functionality is in here. So right now, let me show you what F1, F2, and F3 do. I've got these tied to all my debug commands. F1 turns this path grid on. F2 shows like the direction the enemies can shoot, and F3 turns their shooting off. So right now those are the only debug commands I have, so I probably want to make F4 the ability to just kill all the enemies. Jump to the next level, basically. So let me duplicate that first. F4. And call it global debug switch 4. This is all in system. All this does is it sets a variable somewhere to say, yes, I've pressed F4, or if I press it again to turn it off. In this case, I don't think I need to turn it off, because how do you turn off killing all the enemies? So let's see. I don't need all of this if stuff. So let's get rid of that. Once this debug switch gets turned to 1, it just means kill all the enemies. So make sure I remember what that is. Room manager, add event. I guess I want it in step, or actually begin step. Let's do it in begin step before everything shows up on the screen. So if I've turned this global debug switch 4, if I've hit F4, then I want to kill all the enemies. And I should comment, because I do tend to forget what these different things do in the GUI. Let's see, so when I do that, I basically want to make this condition true. So I'm going to reverse that. So I'm going to set kill count to enemy count so that that condition automatically becomes true. And that should work. So if I press F4, get to game over. Okay. Well, that's not quite what I want. It's probably better to do it in step. Let's see. Begin step, sets it to that, then I come into here. I should also change kill count to 0 inside of here. To make sure that I don't just keep jumping from stage to stage. Okay. So if it's level 1, go to room graveyard. And when I go to room graveyard, this stuff starts up. I don't think what I did will fix this, but I do want to check it just to see. Right. At least it didn't break anything. Okay, so maybe this stuff does need to be in step. RM kill count is equal to enemy count, yes. I think it's this stuff that's not working for me right now. This is probably what's shooting me over to game over. Global current level is 1, then set it to 2, and then jump to the room. I think that's the problem. Let me just see if putting these things after jumping to the room itself helps. If it doesn't, then I think I'm going to need to set these variables after I get into the room. We'll find out. Oh. Okay, I do realize one other problem that I have, and that's that when I hit F4, I'm setting that variable to 1, but I'm forgetting to set it back to 0. Okay, well that's one big problem. That might actually be my only problem. So I need to reset that switch once I use it, otherwise I keep killing the enemies. Okay. Well, at least I'm able to do that. Now I need to probably move these back to where they were. Still not quite working. So for some reason it's jumping a little too far. So when I kill the enemies normally, it works fine. But let me just check that. Let me make sure that killing the enemies the usual way is working the way it's supposed to. I should probably turn their ability to shoot off. I hit F3 so they won't shoot me. Oops. Now, killing enemies does the same thing, so it's probably just this room selection stuff that's not working. Room start. Let me see if I can expand this out a little bit, see a little better there. Let me also add this stuff in as well, just so I have a different enemy pattern ready for me. So add 2 extra enemies. And I should also move this up higher. Set the number of enemies killed to 0 first. Room end. Yeah, I'm not doing anything fancy in there. It might be that these variables up here, it might be that I'm resetting these somehow so that it's always the same room. That could be one possibility. Because when I had it going straight to the room, it was fine. Let me get rid of these just to see if that goes back. Okay. And Jamorian mentions if it was blasting through both levels. I think that's not quite what was going on. I think what was going on was, well, that could be what's going on actually, but I think anyway right now what's going on is it's updating the level, but it's jumping to the wrong level when it's trying to decide where to go next. Like right now I took out that global current level thing, and killing all of the enemies takes me to level 2 properly. But of course, because I'm not updating the level now, even if I kill all the enemies, I just keep coming back to the same level. But you could be right, actually. It could be that it's just whipping straight through both levels. That is very possible. If this is that, then that. How about, should I do this in room start? I'm going to try just to see if it works. Updating the room in here after the room's been initialized. Oops. That's not what I wanted. Just to see what this does. Obviously I used the wrong variable. Start. I think it's globals, isn't it? No, that's fine. Oh, current level. Yeah, that's one problem with thinking of things in terms of GameMaker terminology. Sometimes I use standard terminology and sometimes I use room, so that's going to trip me up a couple of times in the future as well, I think. So let's make these the appropriate things. Yeah, set alarm. Okay. That's just because I added the enemies and stuff, so I can worry about that problem later. Let's see here. Let's just get rid of this for now. Set it back to where it was. So when I set the current level to the current level +1, it suddenly starts jumping 2 ahead. And why is that? room kill count is equal to 0. Enemy spawn, 0. Enemy count is being set in here. That's just grid path stuff. Let me try moving this stuff out of begin step and putting it into step. I don't think it will make a difference, but it could just be a timing issue. Yeah, okay. RM enemy array. Okay, that's probably because of that stuff. Actually, the room manager disappears when this room goes away, doesn't it? That could be the problem, because this room manager is actually attached to room town. So what I want to do is not have this room manager disappear, which means I want it to be persistent. That'll help one thing. Sprite height. Grid creates. Now it's a priority issue. Yeah, now it's a priority issue, isn't it? Sprite height. Where am I doing that stuff? Here? Yeah, now I've got the problem that room manager exists before the player gets initialized, so it's trying to get player sprite width and all that stuff before the player exists, which is no good. And I'm only using that to determine the size of the grid, so it doesn't have to be dynamic at all. So let's put that in here first. Hesitate to use sprite width and sprite height as a global variable because it has special meaning in GameMaker, so I just want to change that a bit. And just so I remember what this is like 2 months from now. Width and height based on the player sprite for use in room manager, etc. That should at least get rid of that problem, hopefully. Okay. And I need one more bit of code, which is loop back if I've reached the end of the levels. So if global current level equals global, let's make a variable called max level. then reset it to 1. Because right now it just keeps incrementing it up and up and up, but it never goes back to 1. And I need to make this global max level. And right now it's 2, so if I hit level 2, then reset it to 1, that'll get rid of rule 1 problem. And Jamorian mentioned, how is end of level handled now? Is it tied directly to the last enemy dying, or is there some buffer event after? Unfortunately, right now it's tied to the last enemy dying. So just as soon as that last enemy is killed, it jumps to the next level. If you leave it for a player key press, that offers the option of picking up rewards if you want to include that as a gameplay event. Yeah. I also think at the end of the day, probably want to have some kind of animation when the cowboy kills all the enemies, because you don't want to just have the bullet, the instant the bullet hits the enemy, just popping to the next level. That's probably not very good. It's not very fun. So I am jumping from level 1 to level 2 when I kill all the enemies here. I'm just not jumping back to level 1 when I kill all the enemies there. Maybe that's because I have to set that to 0. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. That might actually have to be 0, but let me check. You know what? I should probably do this in debug mode, because that'll make things a lot easier. I won't have to guess at what these things are. Let me turn shooting off here. Okay, so global dot current level. Right. Okay. So by adding that debug thing, definitely saw exactly what the problem is. Because I'm coming into level 1, as soon as I start the room, it updates the current level. So what I should probably do, and it makes logical sense, is to update the current level when it leaves the room, because this is not level 1. And where he mentions FF fanfare, yep, nice Final Fantasy fanfare after killing all the enemies. Definitely want to give the player some sort of reward for going through all the trouble of killing everything on the screen. In fact, let me make a note of that. That's actually something I could forget if I don't think about it. Because I think I have a player animation for when they win, but I don't think I have anything else. So let's say level end fanfare. So thank you for the suggestion. It's definitely a good idea to give the player some sort of reward for all the work they're going through. Okay, so let's make sure that these things that I've been fiddling with are actually still making logical sense. So when the room ends, when I've killed all the enemies, set the global current level to global current level plus 1. So if I start at level 1, this will become 2. If, let's see, if I only have 2 levels in the game, and this suddenly became level 2, then I'm resetting this to level 1. So actually this shouldn't be -1, this should be +1, because this is after incrementing the level. So I just want to make sure that if I increment it too far, it can jump back to the beginning. Let's see what this does. And I should have run that in debug mode. Okay, so current level is 1, and when I hit F4 to kill all the enemies, it's still level 1. It's probably wrapping around, isn't it? Max level, let's say 3. Now, current level 1, when it ends, I don't have anything left over here that's setting that variable, do I? Where am I calling those global variables to? That's a good question. Is it system? Okay, yeah, that's fine. System is the one that's executing global variables, which is fine. So that should only be executed once, so it's not overwriting things. That's not the problem. Room start isn't fiddling with that anymore. Step isn't fiddling with that anymore. It's probably this stuff. Yeah, it's this stuff, isn't it? Yeah, it's this stuff that's messing it up. So, I do want it to trigger the end of the room here. So probably what I want is if the kill count equals enemy count, all I want it to do is say end the room. Because I want all of this logic to be happening in here, where it should be happening, not in step. Because I shouldn't be, picking which room I'm going into from a step. So I need to look up a GameMaker function for ending the room, unless there's one over here. Let's see, it's always these room things here. Jump. See if I can find that icon. Main. Okay, it's all this stuff. Tooltips aren't working. That's nice. Oh, that's unfortunate. There we go. Almost had it. Well, that's unfortunate. The tooltips for what these icons do is not popping up, so I'm just going to look it up real fast. So GameMaker end room script. No, I don't want instance destroy. Room go to next. Go to next. Room next. Maybe I should just do this. It's probably the way to go. Alright. So rather than worrying about what level I'm on in the step, rather frightening to delete all that stuff, I'm going to just jump to the next room, which I think is this one actually. Hopefully, yeah, go to next room. Just based on what it looks like. At least the icon looks the right way. So this should go to the next room in the list. So that'll trigger this. So I can keep track of my levels. And the room start. Okay. That's fine. So it's just this global variable that's being tracked here. And then room start is using that global variable to figure out what enemies to throw out there. Let's see what happens. Level 1. The global still says current level 1, which is really weird. Yeah, this global current level is not being updated. Did I get rid of that? No? That's fine. Yeah, I know the grid's getting, at least I hope the grid's getting destroyed, otherwise I have a memory leak. I would assume, oh, maybe I don't need this to be persistent anymore? Yeah, maybe I don't want this to be persistent anymore. Let's see. That'll probably give me a different error when I switch to rooms. Yeah, that'll cause that problem, but let me do this in debug just so I can see if this is making a difference. No, it doesn't make a difference anyway. So I'll leave that persistent because room manager should be that. F4 is working properly. And if the number of enemies killed is equal to the enemy count, then go to the next room. That's fine. Is it because I don't have any enemies yet? That could be the problem. Because I don't have any enemies, so I have 0, and I haven't killed enemies, so that'd be 0. That could be causing a problem. Let's see, current enemy kill count 0. My image is that this room start finishes and then it goes into the first step, so all this stuff should be there, but I should double check that to make sure that things are happening the way I expect them to. So let's add a variable to watch for that stuff. It's kind of working. The room next part is working properly. That is working fine because I'm able to loop through the rooms, but it's this update of this global current level variable that's not working. So I don't think it's a kill count problem. It's this. Like, I'm not sure if it's actually doing this stuff. Just to see if it is. Much as I dislike bringing this stuff back into here, I do want to see if this starts changing that number. Doesn't change that number. Well, there it did. Wow, okay, that's even weirder. So when it's level 2, it only updates to level 2 after level 2 is done. It's very, very, very counterintuitively weird. And obviously because my room manager is still running, I have these like pickup icons and all this weird stuff going on, but I can fix that later. And now global current level's 2. goes to 1. Yeah, that's really, really weird. I would have expected like the opposite to happen. I guess I could put this in here, maybe? Get rid of it from here. So that it updates it here. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. Don't think it would. Well, let's see what this does to the number. And Jamorian mentions at first glance this seems like a sidetrack to get a debug feature to work, but you should end up with better level logic from this. Yeah, definitely. This logic is just kind of going all over the place just to get it to work. And that is definitely not what I want to be doing. Yeah, because I shouldn't be updating any of this stuff in here. That doesn't make... It's not the right way to do it. Yeah. Because it only makes sense to do this when I move to the next room. So it is supposed to be in here. Because right now the way room next works is it just goes from room to room to room. And that's not what I want to do. So that's one thing I actually do have to fix, is instead of go to next room, which is not what I want to do, because all that does is, if you see over here, you've got these 4 rooms. If I do room next, that means if I'm in town, it just goes to the next one in the list, which is room graveyard, game over, victory, town. That is not what I want to be doing, because I want to be able to jump around a little with a little more fine control than that. So I want to go to a room with a certain index. That's restart. Do I have to do this in code? Maybe I do. Alright, let's go with turn the index of the room after number. Go to number. That's what I really want to be doing. And I don't think any of these room icons do that, so I have to do it in script. What was it? Current level plus 1. I mean, logically this should come after, but just to shortcut a little bit. And get rid of that one, and then not have any of this stuff in here. But I do need to have this logic in that script that I was doing. if the global current level after updating it is equal to global max level, then global current level equals 1, basically reset it. Okay, so let's comment this, update the current level to the next one if the current level is beyond the number of levels in the game. Restart, jump to the next room. So that's my logic. And just so I remember where I have it, and make sure I don't have any tricky code left over from all of that debugging that's going to screw me up. And let's see what happens. Wow, that global current level does not like moving, does it? At least now logically it's working properly because, you know, global current level is 1, and when I kill all of the enemies, it jumps to the next level, which is 2. The only problem is when it jumps to 2, it doesn't update global current level to 2. Something's resetting that. So I've got something in here that's resetting that. But what is doing it? Switch to 4, yep. Increment and jump, yep. Just to make sure this isn't causing a problem, I'm going to get rid of this. I don't think that's what's causing the problem because there's enough space in there where it should be, oops, able to jump up a few levels before resetting, but just to make sure. No, I guess that is causing the problem. Because now every time I hit F4, it's just adding to current level, so it's that if that's creating the problem. So it is the if. It is that if. So it is this that's failing. Global max level is equal to 3. So when this is 1, it gets set to 2. Then it comes into here. If 2 equals 3, which shouldn't happen, it should skip all that stuff and go room go to. And it's not doing anything weird like going from 1 to 3 to 5 to 7, so it's not like it's coming in here twice by mistake. It's this somehow. Global max level, I do have that set to 3. Right? Oh, well, there we go. I hope that's my only problem. That'd be awesome. Please let that be the only problem. So I remembered setting it to 3, but I guess I forgot that I set it back to 2. Okay, well now at least the current level is updating properly, but I think the rim jump is now off. Oh, I know what's causing the problem now because I'm using this as an index. It's using these things, so this is probably 0, 1, 2, 3. That might be the only problem. I should probably look into that rather than just guessing at it, but guessing's fun. Yep. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, it was just the way GameMaker is doing the index. So I guess this room town is 0, graveyard is 1, game over is 2, victory is 3. Let me see if it says in here what the index is. It doesn't seem to give me that information. But I should make a note of that. So let me add that to my notes. Things to look up here. Check into how GameMaker indexes. Am I spelling that right? It's not giving me the red line, so I'll assume that's how I spell it. How GameMaker indexes rooms in the object view. 0, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3. It's kind of a cryptic note, but hopefully I'll remember it. Because I think what's going on is this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And Jamorian mentions that add a third level so that you have a case where you wouldn't loop back. You may not have enough examples to expose the bug. I think you're very right about that. So let's do that, actually. Good idea. Very good idea. Let's create a third level. What was my other one going to be, like desert or something like that, right? Okay. I see another problem here. Let's get rid of that. That might also be causing my problem. Because I might be recreating the room manager every time, and that's not good. Again, that's where having a title screen will help, because I can just create the room manager at the title screen and be done with it. Alright, so I've got desert now, so I theoretically have 3 levels. So let's change this to 4. Actually, I will keep that 3, because logically it makes sense that I have 3 levels. And I'm just going to handle that in here by doing it this way. Because I have 3 levels, well now I have 3 levels in the game, but I only want it to reset back to 1 if I increment it and it ends up being 4. Okay, so current level -1, that's fine. And then I just need to make sure that I have stuff in here for handling level 3. Theoretically, I don't need this. It's kind of scary to get rid of it, but let's get rid of it because it's not supposed to be in create, it's supposed to be in here. Otherwise I end up doing it twice, which is not good. And let's change that to level 3. Have just the same enemies coming out, that's fine. And that should be all I need to do. Let's see what happens. Oh, I need to change the barrels around so I know that it got to a new level. RM enemy array. Yep. Number 10 of the create event. That's fine because I got rid of that stuff. Okay. So I do need to move some of this stuff around so that I know that I've changed levels. Okay, so level 3 is this. So F4, jump to level 2. Jump to level 3. Yep, seems to be working fine. Okay. That seems to be working fine. The only thing now I want to do is, if there's a game over, because right now, if I get a game over, it'll probably just jump to the last level that I was at. Well, in this case, I think it just happened to be this one, but when I get to game over, right now it's just handling it in here. Room town, that's fine. And global, oh, okay, I was already handling it. That's fine then. I guess I was thinking in the future when I was doing this way back in the day, but I am resetting current room to 1 and jumping to that. Okay, well, go Eric of the past. Glad he did that. So, all right, that's appears to be working fine. After doing all this debugging, it's kind of hard to believe that it's working, but it's kind of fishy. Works itself out, but there's definitely a spot where if I hit the keys in a certain way, it's going weird. And I suspect it has something to do with this create stuff that I'm doing in here, but I'm going to leave that as a debugging task for later. Because at least I'm able to move from level to level, and that's kind of what I want. I don't imagine it would take me long to debug that stuff, but it's worth remembering that I have to do that. So I do technically have, just the game maker room, not the actual graveyard like level in terms of looks or anything like that, but that's fine. The level manager, I do have that bug left over, but that's done. And thank you, Jamorian, for the tip. I think that did help me figure it out, and it'll at least help me with the debugging here as well in the future. And I'm probably going to run across that bug as I go through this stuff too, which is creating a title screen, etc. And I want that to be my first room, so it'll definitely expose the bug and help me debug it as well to do this stuff now. So before I jump into that, I am going to take a quick break because it's a good kind of stopping point. But when I come back from that break, I'm going to create a very, very rough title screen in Photoshop, just, Project Spaghetti, boom, press any key to start, that's about it. And then I'll probably do, 3 text menu items called like start or new game or whatever, new game, options, quit. And then because I can reuse those in the pause menu and the game over menu, etc. So just very basic like text labels. And probably 2 variations of each one that's highlighted and one that's not highlighted, so that you know which one is currently selected. And at the end I want it to have where if you press enter, it executes whatever that command is supposed to do. And at least compared to like jumping from room to room, I think I have a good idea about how to go about this, so it should go fairly quickly as long as I can create those temporary resources in Photoshop, those rough resources. But I will take a quick break, so stick with me, and I'll be back in probably about 2 minutes. Hello everyone, thank you for waiting while I took that quick break. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, it was probably just a quick fade to black and a fade back in, but for those of you who are sticking with me here on Twitch, I do appreciate your waiting. For anyone who's kind of joined this partway through and didn't catch the opening intro, I should probably give a few words about what I'm doing here. Basically live game development here on Twitch, making a game called Project Spaghetti, which is a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fire around with a pinball mechanic. If you want to catch any of these episodes or past episodes, you can always go over to youtube.com Blue Tengu Studio. You can also follow on Twitter at btengu, or just come to our site at www.bluetengu.com to see what we're up to. Any of those places you'll see what we're up to. And right now, I just finished creating the functionality to jump from room to room. Kind of fishy, so I did create a task to debug that and make sure it works properly. Probably have to separate some of that logic out and put it in its proper place, organize it a little better, then things will become clear. Also, since one of my other tasks for today, jumping over to Trello, is making a title screen and a pause menu. Those are also going to kind of be their own separate rooms, probably. Well, not the pause menu, but the title screen will definitely be its own separate room. It'll be the first room that the player comes into when they start the game. So that'll only help the debugging as well, because if I jump from that to suddenly like jump to level 2 or something, then I know something's going wrong with the way I'm updating rooms, etc. So since it can only help, it's worth jumping to that task and keeping the debug this eventually task for another time, because it may solve itself as I work through this. But first thing is to create at least a rough title screen. And I do have the microphone on. I've made that mistake before, so I'm always nervous about that. Glad to see that's working fine. Let's see, jump into Photoshop. And let's see, first thing is 640 by 480 is my current resolution. But I am going for that kind of a Commodore feel. So what I've been doing so far with my sprites is sticking to 320 by, let's see, what was it, 240 as a screen resolution, and in terms of sprites having like 20, what was it, 26 or 32 by something or something like that, and then just doubling everything to fit it to 640 by 480, just so that it keeps that pixelated look, because if I start working in 640 by 480 as a base, then it's going to kind of lose that pixelated feel, and I don't want to do that. So for the title screen as well, I want to pretend anyway that this is just 320 by 240, so that I can basically double the scale and get that look I'm going for. And I do have my grid on today, so that's good. And one other thing I'm going to need here is my trusty Commodore 64 palette, color palette, if I can find it. Window, arrange, cascade. Okay, there it is. So these are theoretically the only colors I'm allowed to use. So basic title screen. Yeesh, I probably would just, since it is, oh, what did I do there? Okay, don't want to do that. I do want to grab this color, probably that color, and say, I guess it doesn't matter what color I have selected, it's just going to use the background. I do want to switch this to that Commodore font that I like. And that's actually about right in terms of width, because I need to leave a lot of space in here for, one, pictures and things like that in the future, and also for the options menu, new game, options, exit, things like that. And I don't want to actually hard code any of those into this drawing, because what I want to do is have it where if you're selecting it, it's highlighted or not highlighted, and I can't do that if I make it part of the picture. And this is just rough, by the way. There's no way I would actually put a game out that just had this as the title screen. But I just want to make sure that it gets my logic started. Actually, this all needs to be on the desktop. Project Spaghetti with all my other stuff. Let's call this title screen. Should I say background? Nah, just title screen. And while I'm in here, I should probably create all the other stuff too. Start? Should I call it start or new game? Probably start. Because new game's more of a concept, like if you're saving and loading and stuff like that. And I only want this to be like probably 50 pixels high. Don't want it to be that big. And all I want to do in here is I want the background to be transparent. So I need to get rid of that so that this goes over stuff. And then I want to draw in here as well with the same color and say start. Try to keep that more or less in the middle. Just so I group these logically, I'm going to say menu option first and then put start after that. And I want to copy this, but it's not going to happen. So let's see, what's the other one? Options. And again, get rid of the background. And try to bring that more or less in the middle. Obviously these are rough and I can start fiddling with it later, but... And exit. It's going to be my third option. Let me just move that up here. Erase the background. Say exit. Okay, well that's fine for a start. What did I say? Menu options? Menu option. Okay, menu option. Exit. Save. And same with this one. Menu option. Options. Also, let's see. Well, let's move this to the side for now, since this is not what I really need to work with. Let me save it out as a PNG file so that I can use it in Game Maker. And that should be fine. I want to have highlighted versions of this as well. So inside of the same Photoshop file, I'm going to create just two layers, one for the highlighted version, one for the non-highlighted version. That way it's easier to figure out, line them up and everything else. So if I try to create two totally separate files, it's going to be really hard to line that stuff up. And I do need one more, which is return to game. And this is for the pause menu. I might as well do it now. Save myself a little trouble later. Okay. And now I need to create new layers. So duplicate the layer. And I'll call it highlighted. And I need to change the font color. Let's see, what should I change it to? It's a yellow background, so maybe just red. No, I guess I have to use the text tool. Alright, well that's fine. Okay, so if it's highlighted, look red. If it's not highlighted, look blue. Seems easy enough. And I can worry about how it actually looks. I'm sure it's not going to look that great against a yellow background with nothing on it, but as long as it works. That's all that's important when making the rough game. Brushing up graphics takes time, so that's definitely not something I want to be doing this early in development. So for this one, it's menu option, return to game, highlighted. and the non-highlighted version. Okay. I'll leave highlighting off by default. Now let's do the same thing for exit, duplicate the layer, call it highlighted, change the font color, to that red, save this one as highlighted, and save the basic one as just the file name. Okay, so that's my exit command. That'll be in both options and title. I may end up doing a return to title screen thing later, but at this point it's probably not worth going to that much trouble. This is fine as start, so I need to do the duplicating thing. Duplicate, call it highlighted, change the font color, there we go, and save that out. Okay, that's highlighted and the non-highlighted version. And yes, save that. Duplicate again, highlighted. Oops, I keep doing that. I need to do it up here. Save as the highlighted version. And the non-highlighted version. That's fine. PNG, get rid of the copy. Okay, and there's one more thing I want to do. You'll understand what it is when I start to do the pause screen, but 640 by 480, so half of that is that. What I want to do now is, if I can do it in here, I may just do it in the Game Maker visual thing, but now it may be kind of weird to think of what I'm doing here. Like, why would I just create a black screen? But I'm going to change the opacity down to about, I guess, 50. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with this later. But I do need this for the pause screen. In fact, the file name is going to give a hint as to how I'm going to use it. Pause menu, backdrop. Okay. So I think I have everything I need to get started, but I'm going to leave Photoshop up just in case I start to forget what I did or if I need to go back and make some edits. But now I should be able to go into Game Maker and start adding all of these sprites in. Probably create a group here. Menus. Or let's just say GUI. No, menu. Menu. Because I do want to keep it separate from the stuff that shows up in the game itself. And now I want to create all these sprites. So sprite title screen. And it's just that, basically. And I need to double the size. Gotta remember to do that, otherwise everything's going to be all scrunched into the middle. So stretch, 200%. That's fine. Should be fine. Should be in the center. No, I'll keep the origin in the upper left, because it's just going to pop right from the top left of the screen to the bottom right, so keeping the origin at 0, 0 is the way to go for that. So that's my title screen. Now I need my menu options, so sprite menu start. Should I say option? Yeah, because then I'll have options, and that's really weird. So menu option start, the unhighlighted version. And I want to double this as well. And I also want to have, if I can figure out where it is here, animation, I think it's one of these things, isn't it? Well, for some reason the tooltips aren't working for me in GameMaker today, so I just have to kind of guess at this stuff. This has a plus mark on it, so I think this is what I want to do. Yep. What this does is usually you use sub-images for animation. So if you want to show your character running, you just have like frame 1 be this, frame 2 be this, frame 3 be this, and when you play them back and forth it looks like he's running. You can also use it to switch images within the sprite itself. So that's what I'm going to be using for the highlighting stuff. And let's see, is there a way to do this from file? Maybe I should have used this one. Let's get rid of this and try this. Menu option, start highlighted. I wonder why tooltips aren't working today. Sometimes that happens. Keep original size. Stretch. Use new size. Let's see if this does what I want it to do. No. Okay, let's just do it manually then. Keep original size. Place the top left. Okay. Oop, oop, oop. No, no, no. Kind of hard to think about what options I want to get this to do it just right. It feels like one combination of them would do everything I needed it to do. Because you'd think use new size and stretch to fit would be what I want. But is that changing? See, it changes the resolution back to like 320 by 50, which is not what I want. It's kind of unfortunate that I can't think of which of these does exactly what I want it to do. Alright, let's try place and center and keep original size. And then just see what this does. It looks like it has the same effect as what I did when I did the stretch the canvas thing. Yep, that should do what I need it to do. So I'm going to keep that. Sprite menu start. And do I want to duplicate? No, I probably don't want to duplicate. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this for each of these. So menu, options, load sprite. At least now that I know what I'm doing, it should go pretty quick. Menu options, options. In fact, I'm just going to Now I should probably do this in here first, just so that it has a base to work with. And highlighted version. Same settings as before, and just scale it out 200%. That's fine. Okay. That's my options. Sprite menu exit. Menu option exit, the unhighlighted version. Double the size so that it's 640. Well, that it fits 640 by 480. Then add the highlighted version. Use those settings and double the size. Scale it up. And the last one was sprite menu. What was the last one? Start options exit. Good thing I kept Photoshop open. Also need to remember to put in the backdrop. Return to game. So return to game. Alright, that's the one. Return. And edit sprite. Add that from the file. The non-highlighted version. Stretch that out. Scale that out. 200. It's already at 200. Okay, and I need the backdrop. So create sprite pause backdrop. And all that is just a semi-transparent black sheet. But I do need to also stretch that out, and you'll see why when I start using it. Okay, so I should now have all of the sprites that I need to get this started. So let's see. I think I'll do pause first, actually, because that's going to be less tricky. In that case, I want to be doing it inside the room manager, right? Yeah. Either system or room manager. I don't think it matters too much which one. But let's see, system. Should I put it in system? I'll put it in system and see how it works. So what I want to do is have the player at any point they can hit like the escape key and enter a pause menu. And that's in here. So if they press the escape key, do this stuff. And what I need to do is create an instance of an object called a pause menu. So let's see, I think it's just create instance. Maybe the other way around. Instance, create. Okay, there we go. And the position, I just want it to be in the upper left of the screen. And the name is going to be, since I use room manager, how about pause manager? And that's all this should need to do. So if I hit escape, it'll create that object. And so I need to make that object and call it pause manager. It has no sprite. And let's see, when it's created, I need it to do some stuff. And I think all of it's going to be in code. Let's see, check some things here. I did a little bit of advanced research, so I know exactly kind of what I'm doing here. Because there's a lot of GameMaker script commands to do this, and I had to look those up in GameMaker's documentation and stuff. The first thing I want to do is to make sure, like if I pause everything that's going on in the game, it's going to look really weird in the background. So the right way to go about this is to take a screenshot of what the game looks like and keep it as a backdrop. So the first thing I want to do is, as my notes say, there's screen save. And what this does is it takes a screenshot, of the game and saves it into the folder, the data folder. So you can call this anything you want, but I'm just going to say to keep it simple, pause screen. It's pretty obvious. And I think that's all. You can also use something called screen save part to save part of the screen as a screenshot, and you could stretch that out, for example. Maybe it's worth doing later. Like take wherever the player is and double that size or something and keep that as the background. Maybe it'd look cool. Not sure, but I think for now I just want to have the game screen be in the background. And the next thing I need to do here, according to my notes, is yes, all. And this not me thing is a true false thing. So I want true. Hopefully I get that right. True as in I don't want to stop the thing that's calling this from running. So I don't want to stop the pause manager, but I want to stop everything else from going through those step commands. This is effectively what pauses the game. And let me make sure I do everything else properly here. Yes. So this needs to add that screenshot first. So sprite, so I'm going to create a new sprite and I'm going to call it screen capture. And I think it's sprite. Okay, there it is, sprite add. File name, so pause screen, PNG. So that's that screenshot I took. Image number, it's just one image. Like when I was doing those menu highlights, like highlighted or non-highlighted, it was swapping back and forth. That's what image number is, so I just want 0 for that. Remove background. It doesn't look like I want to do that. Smooth, yeah, might as well smooth the edges out. There shouldn't actually be edges, and then pop it into the upper left corner. So that'll put the screen capture over everything as it's paused. I also want something menu items, so I know which item is highlighted. Return. Let's just say continue. It's easier that way. So this is the current menu item that's highlighted, so when I first jump in here by default, it's just going to be go back to the game. And is that all I need to do? Yeah, that might be all I need to do. Because everything else I think is going to be in like the draw GUI and stuff. So just so I remember what this does. And so that means I do need a draw GUI event. Where is it? Draw GUI. This is what does all of the actual drawing of stuff. This is all going to be scripted stuff as well. Let's see. Okay, so I do need to draw sprites. Alright, so draw sprite. The sprite name, so sprite, what's the first thing I want to draw? Menu pause backdrop is one of the things I want to draw. And I want it to be, it's just one image, and I want it to be in the upper left. I think on top of that, though, I want to draw, or before I draw that, I think I want to draw, not sprite, pause backdrop, what did I call it? Let me see what I called it here in Create. Sprite screen capture. I want to draw that as well. And same thing, 0, 0, 0. So it draws it in the upper left. So that draws those things. Let's see. Then I need to draw menu options. So that's item equals, then I've called it continue. So if continue is highlighted, then draw the highlighted version of that. So sprite, and I was calling it menu return subimage 1 in this case because I want the highlighted version. and where I draw it. Room width, I want to make sure it's independent of resolution so that I can change it later. So I need something with room width. So 640, the thing was about 320. Let's see what that does. It might be all shifted off when I look at it, but... And then I also need to determine where on that pause screen it's being drawn, so that needs to be related to room height. I want to make the default be the middle, and then I want return to be above everything else. So let's see, room height divided by 4.8. So 480, if I want it to be 50 up, or 100 up, 4.8. Let's just do 5, so there's a little bit of space. We can adjust these, because I'm sure it's going to look crazy when I first have it drawn anyway. The next thing is going to be options. That one's not highlighted, and then the rest of this is the same, almost, except for that last part, because I want this one to actually be in the middle. And let's start relying on copying and pasting, hopefully not introducing bugs in here. The last one is exit, and that as well is just the non-highlighted version. And in this case, actually this should be minus, so that it goes up. This one should be plus, so it goes down. And that's if continue is highlighted, but I also want to do it for the other cases. So else if options is selected, then use the highlighted option sprite. If exit is selected, then use the highlighted exit sprite. And is that all I need to do in here for drawing? That should be all I need to do for drawing. Now I need to actually start adding keyboard events. So if they press up, let's see, let me make sure I get my variables right here. So if they press up and the current item is continue, I want to loop back down to exit. So current item equals exit, and then just else ifs, same thing. If options is selected and the player presses up, I want it to go back to continue. If exit is selected and they press up, I want it to go up to options. And that should be all I need to do for pressing up, and I need to do the same thing for pressing down, just in the reverse. So if options is selected, go to exit. If exit is selected, loop back around to continue. And if continue is selected, go down to options. I also need to do enter, which means if it's selected. So if it's continue, then I just want to go back to the game. And I think I need to do something in here that I have notes on. Maybe not. Maybe not. Because if I do everything in the destroy, I don't have to worry about it in here, according to my notes. So this will get rid of the pause manager if I select continue. I don't have an options screen yet, so I'm just going to leave a note for me to do that. You know, things like selecting resolution and changing the sound levels, things like that. And if I select exit, I think it's game end. Yeah, just end the game. So if the player chooses to exit, exit the game. What else do I want? Probably want to do something for escape as well. If the player hits escape and comes into the menu and they hit it again, they probably just want to get out of the menu. So let's handle that as well by doing this. So if they hit escape, I'm going to assume they want to just jump back into the game. So that's all I do. Then I have one more thing I have to do, which is when I destroy this, I have to do some cleanup because I was creating variables and things like that. And I think I need to, let's see. Okay, I need to delete that file. That's the main thing I need to do, yeah. So, let's see, the script in GameMaker is file exists. It's called file exists. There we go, see it popped up. You just need to give the file name, which I believe I had pause screen, PNG. Got some fireworks going on outside, as happens in Japan, especially where I live, because they do a lot of fireworks testing out here, so it's always the 4th of July. And the file delete. So if this file exists, delete it to make sure that I don't, have this, junk in the folder based on the pause menu. And the most important thing is instant activate all. This turns off the pausing, because before when I jumped into the pause menu I said deactivate all. Now I have to say turn it back all on, get the game started again. And there's one more thing that I'm not entirely sure I need to do, but just to be safe, let's see, what did I call it? Screen capture? Let me check. Because I created a new object in here, so every time I come into this pause menu, it's going to create this object. If I don't delete that object, then this stuff starts piling up in memory, and the game could eventually crash. So it's a good idea to, clean up after yourself. Be a good coder, clean up after yourself. I think that's all I need to do. Delete the sprite, get rid of the pause screen, blah blah blah. And this doesn't need to be visible, but let's see how this goes. Oh, I forgot a parentheses, didn't I? Yeah, I'm starting to get bad habits by working in Visual Basic a lot at work. Visual Basic, the editor anyway, does a lot of stuff for you in terms of finding parentheses and everything else. So let's hit escape. Kind of works. Everything is drawing in a weird place is the problem. That is a problem. Pause works anyway, but this stuff is not drawing in the right place, it appears. I'm going to make sure I didn't skip anything from my notes. So I did the destroy stuff, I did the escape stuff, I did the enter stuff. Draw sprite, room width. Maybe I'm just drawing it too far to the right. You know what? Maybe I am. I'm going to go with the numbers that I kind of had in my original thing, just to see if that helps. Because I must have been thinking at the time when I came up with these original numbers. Though I don't think this is the real problem. know if I want to center this stuff or not. Let me see what happens when I do center this. Oops, that's not what I wanted to try. That's fine as 0, 0. It's this pause backdrop. Let's try centering that and see what happens. I don't think that's the problem, but interesting. So it is pausing. That's fine. Screen save, instant deactivate all. Add the sprite. Draw GUI. Sprite screen capture, sprite pause backdrop. That all seems to be drawing in the right place. Am I doing anything else odd here? No, I don't think I'm doing anything weird according to my notes. So I'm going to worry about debugging that later because I'm starting to run out of time here for this week. That I don't think will take too long because I think I should be able to get it working. Let's see, debug. Actually, let me switch these around. Debug, pause menu. Okay. That's working at least. The pause functionality is working anyway because I can pause the game and I can jump back into it. It's just where it's drawing that stuff that needs to be debugged. And I did create a rough title screen, so that's fine. Last thing I need to do here is just to create a title menu. Since I am a little pressed for time, we'll find out. You know, I may just have to leave a bunch of bugs for next time. But we'll find out. That's PG. Actually, that's probably where I should have had this. So I forgot that sprites are obviously separated from these BGs. So let's double that so that I have my background. So BG title, and let's get rid of sprite title screen because it's not a sprite. Obviously, it is a background. So BG title. And backgrounds. Oops, that's town. I don't want to be fiddling with that. I want this to be up here. I want title to be the first thing it comes into, and I want title to look like that. And I also need, let's see, town, room manager, that's fine. And I want to display sprites in here, so let's create a title manager or menu manager. And when that's created, do this. And that's going to be a bunch of those sprite draw things. Sprite create, sprite, add. And let's see, sprite menu start image number 0. Maybe that needs to be image number 1, I don't know, but let's see. Remove the background, yes. Smooth, yes. Origin, again. Room width divided by, let's just say 5. Room height. You know what? Let's copy and paste all this stuff from the pause menu because it is the same thing. Basically. The only thing that's different is instead of return to game, it's start game. So that's fine. Actually, that shouldn't be in create at all. It should be in draw GUI, first off. So that every step it draws this. And I'm going to want to do all of the same things that I'm doing in the pause menu, basically, except for escape probably. So let's copy this. So when I press enter, I want this stuff to happen. Key press enter and paste that in. The only difference is continue is start. And I want that to jump to the room equal to 1. Whether that's worth hard coding or not, I'll think about that later. And let's put the destruction thing afterwards. And exit's fine as game end, and options, obviously, since I don't have an options menu, that's fine to do that there. So that's enter, and we also need to copy scrolling through the options. So up, same thing, except wherever I see continue, it should be start. And the same thing for down. This is why I wanted to do these two tasks on the same day, because so much of them is the same, doing the same thing. Better to do it now than to try and remember how I did it, a week or two from now. And let's see, that's enter, destroy. I don't have any sprites that I need to get rid of. So I don't need that. I do have escape and draw GUI, create. I don't need to take a screenshot. I do need to set the current item to start. So that is the one thing I do need to do in the create here, so that that's selected by default. And let's see, room manager. Let's find out what happens. Because I don't have room manager existing yet or system existing yet, some things might be kind of screwy. It might not work. But let's just see. Okay, that's fine. It's just the menu options that aren't working. If I do hit enter, it doesn't jump to the game, but that's probably because I'm selecting something that doesn't exist yet. Yeah, that's all that is. So if current, let's see, room, let's just do next for now. Am I messing up how I'm supposed to be doing room next? Let me see. Oh, I still have it open, don't I? Okay. Oh, room go to next. Okay, there's a room next and a room go to next. Okay, that's why that wasn't working, so boom. Now I don't need to put an index in there, I don't think. Let's see, why would that not be working? doesn't want to leave this title screen for some reason. What should I check? Menu manager. Oh, okay. Well, here's the big problem. I never actually added that menu manager into here. So there's nothing to capture my keys and everything else. That's a problem. Okay, well this is just a drawing issue, but I can fix that later. There we go. Okay, so I can fix that drawing issue. Yeah, I could probably just fix it right now, actually. Just so that it's not totally crazy. Because next week when I start this up, I don't want it to be just looking bonkers. Rim height divided by 4.8. 4.8. So that they're not all right on top of each other. Because I think dividing by 48 is too much. See, there we go. And the cycling stuff is not working. That's not very good. So press up. If current item equals start, then current item equals exit. Oh. Well, yeah, that would do it. I forgot to put a whole bunch of stuff in here. Current item equals start. Because I never actually had anything that would draw different sprites depending on what was selected. So obviously that wouldn't work. Options and exit. And if options is selected, I want options to be highlighted. If exit is selected, I want exit to be highlighted. Should work. Should work. There we go. Okay, so now I do have an options menu. It's obviously shifted too far to the right, but it works. Or title menu, sorry. If I select exit, it just jumps out of the game. And start. There we go. Okay. Whew. And I can pause it. Although the pause is putting things in a weird place, so I do need to fix that at some point. But I'll leave that as a debugging task. Title screen works, it just needs to be made prettier. So let's save this. I don't want to lose all that work. Let's save this. Go over to Trello here. So I do have the title menu working. Okay. And Jamorian says, haven't had much to say on this part, but good job so far. Thank you. I'm glad the menus at least went a little smoother than the jumping from room to room part. It helped looking some of those functions up on GameMaker documentation in advance. Probably if I would have had to do this by Googling stuff, etc., it would have taken a lot longer. So thankfully, looked some of that stuff up in advance helped. So I'm going to wrap up this episode since it has been over 2 hours. Thank you for watching. What I did do in episode 11, which is this episode, is first I made, inside of GameMaker, I made a graveyard level. It doesn't actually look like a graveyard, it's just, logically it's called the graveyard level. And it's another level. That's the only thing I did there. And thanks to Jamorian's advice, I actually made 2 extra levels so that I could test jumping from room to room. There is still a little bit of stuff that needs to be debugged with that, so I have debug level jumping over here for a future task. With that, I did the system level manager, which is going to need to be fixed with that level jumping stuff. And then afterwards, I created a pause menu. I created, all those pause options and stuff. Created a rough title screen. Actually, I did that first, so let's make sure I put this in order. And the last thing I did was I got the title menu working so that you can jump into the game or you can quit. There's no options menu yet. That's over here. That'll be next week, probably. So let's go ahead and set up next week, episode episode 12. Again, for those of you who didn't catch the intro, or who are just jumping to the end of this on YouTube, all of the old episodes are on youtube.com Blue Tengu Studio. You can also find links to all those episodes on www.bluetengu.com. Or if you want to know when the episodes are coming up, or I put all these episodes up on YouTube usually about 2 days after I do the live show, so if you want to know when those go up, you can just follow me at btengu, not Blue Tengu, btengu on Twitter, and I can make those announcements and let you know in case you want to jump back and see, what we did earlier in the episode if you just jumped in right now. For this debugging stuff, yeah, I'll probably leave it, but I do want to have a game over menu. And that's 2 hours worth of tasks. Yeah, that's probably about right. If I start to actually put any of this options menu functionality into there, especially, it's going to take the whole show. If all I do is basically what I did with the title screen, it'll be over in, just a half a second. But if I do start to say, you can change the level of volume and brightness and contrast and resolution, especially resolution, if I start fiddling with that, it's going to take a long, long time. Probably might even have to separate that task out into other tasks later. In fact, let me just up the estimate for that to 3.5, because I think this is going to be huge if I try to implement all that stuff. So whether I get, probably won't get all this done in one episode, but let's go ahead and put game over menu first, because that'll be the easier one to do. And that looks like that's going to wrap it up. So let's jump off the desktop here. And thank you guys for watching. I'm Eric. I'm a game designer working on Project Spaghetti. I do this every week on Saturdays, my time anyway, in Japan, which is 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. If you're watching from the States, the live show is, let's see, if you're Pacific Daylight Time, it's 4 to 6. I better be careful when daylight savings time ends, because if it ends, I'm going to have to shift all these times. I'm going to look that up because I live in Japan where there is no daylight savings time, so I have absolutely no awareness of when daylight savings time ends anymore. I know it's fall back, so fall is coming, so I need to pay attention. But Pacific Daylight Time anyway would be 4 to 6. If it's standard time already, then I'm sorry. I'll have to update that. If it's Mountain, it's 5 to 7 p.m. on Friday nights. If it's Central, it's 6 to 8 p.m. Friday nights, and if it's Eastern, it's 7 to 9 p.m. Friday nights. If you're in the UK, it's midnight to 2 a.m. If you're in Japan with me, obviously, same time, it's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Saturday morning. If you're in Australia, which is pretty close to Japan in terms of time zones, it's anywhere from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Daylight savings time, depending on where you are in Australia. And if you're in New Zealand, it's 12 p.m. daylight savings time. Again, all of those times are daylight savings. Hopefully I haven't fallen back yet. If I have, then just add an hour, I think. But thank you for watching. You can catch us over, like I said, you can catch us over at youtube.com Blue Tengu Studio if you want to see old videos, or if you want to see games I've been playing. You can also vote on games I play on those unplugged episodes on the site, which is www.bluetengu.com. There's a voting form on the right. I think right now the 4 games that I have as possible candidates are Beat Hazard, DLC Quest, Thief, and The Swapper. So if you have a preference, definitely vote. Follow on btengu. I keep wanting to say Blue Tengu. Keep following on btengu, and I hope you will see us next week. Let's see. Do I have any other announcements to make? No, I think that's about it. Thank you for watching and for sticking with me during a lot of debugging there. Has been a longer episode, but I hope you enjoyed it. And Jim Orion says, good show. Thank you. Hope all of you guys who are watching right now on Twitch did get something out of this. If you have suggestions or comments, send them to me. You can send them to me on Twitter. You can send them to me on bluetengu.com. You can leave comments on YouTube. You can send private messages on Twitch. However you want to get in contact, definitely. I'd like to hear from you. And for the guy who was making a game for the Ludum Dare, send me a link to that. I would like to play it. I'm sorry that Twitch automatically deleted your link because of the spam filter, etc. I might turn that off in the future. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.